When I was at school, a long time ago, be 63 in March, it wouldn't have been illegal to read this as a teacher or as a student in the classroom of my old secondary school, George Spencer County Secondary. In fact, that's where I first came across George Orwell, in the library of that school. I had a friend who'd read Animal Farm, and then he'd gone on to read another Orwell book, the classic Keep the Aspidistra Flying, and finally the dystopian nightmare that Orwell writes of, called 1984. What I'm about to read would now be illegal. I doubt if the book could even be kept in the school library. This is frightening. This is the beginnings of totalitarianism. But listen to this description. "You were the last man," said O'Brien. "You are the guardian of the human spirit. You see yourself as you are. Take off your clothes." Winston undid the bit of string that held his overalls together. The zip fastener had long since been wrenched out of them. He could not remember whether at any time since his arrest he had taken all of his clothes off at one time. Beneath the overalls his body was looped with filthy yellowish rags, just recognisable as the remnants of underclothes. As he slid them to the ground, he saw that there was a three-sided mirror at the end of the room. He approached it, then stopped short. An involuntary cry broke out from him. "Go on," said O'Brien. "Stand between the wings of the mirror. You shall see the side view as well." He'd stopped because he was frightened. A bowed, grey-coloured, skeleton-like thing was coming towards him. Its actual appearance was frightening, and not merely the fact that he knew it to be himself. He moved closer to the glass. The creature's face seemed to protrude because of its bent carriage, a forlorn jailbird's face, with a knobbly forehead running back into a bald scalp, a crooked nose, and battered-looking cheekbones, above which his eyes were fierce and watchful. The cheeks were seamed. The mouth had a drawn-in look. Certainly it was his own face, but it seemed to him that it had changed more than he had changed inside. The emotions it registered would be different from the ones he felt. He had gone partly bald. For the first moment he had thought he had gone grey as well, but it was only the scalp that was grey. Except for his hands and a circle around his face, his body was grey all over with ingrained dirt. Here and there under the dirt were the red scars of wounds, and near the ankle the varicose ulcer was an inflamed mass with flakes of skin peeling off it. But the truly frightening thing was the emaciation of his body. The barrel of ribs was now as narrow as that of a skeleton. The legs had shrunk so that the knees were thicker than the thighs. He saw now what O'Brien had meant about seeing the side view. Look at that disgusting running sore on your leg," said O'Brien. "Do you know you stink like a goat? Probably you'd cease to notice it. Look at your emaciation. Do you see? I can make my thumb and forefingers meet around your bicep. I could snap your neck like a carrot. Do you know that you have lost 25 kilograms since you have been in our hands? Even your hair is coming out in handfuls. Look." He plucked at Winston's head and brought away a tuft of hair. "Open your mouth. 9, 10, 11 teeth left? How many had you when you came to us? And the few you have left are dropping out of your head. Look here." He seized one of Winston's remaining teeth between his powerful thumb and forefinger. A twinge of pain shot through Winston's jaw. O'Brien wrenched the tooth out by the roots. He tossed it across the cell. "You are rotting away," he said. "You're falling to pieces. What are you? A bag of filth. Now turn around and look into the mirror again. Do you see that face facing you? That is the last man. If you are human, that is humanity. Now put your clothes on again." Winston began to dress himself with a slow, stiff movement, and until now he had not seemed to notice how thin and weak he was. Only one thought stirred in his mind, that he must have been in this place longer than he imagined. Then suddenly, as he fixed the miserable rags round himself, a feeling of pity for his ruined body came over him. That is frightening. That is sad. That is depressing. I'm not trying to say that we are in that exact position at the moment, but gradually we're working our way towards it. Look at the callous disregard for the asylum seekers in Napier barracks. Look at how the media is reporting it. Look at how they're demonised. Look at how even the fact that they are living and being detained behind wire in inhuman and unsanitary conditions. Think about the dirt that was on Winston. These people are being detained without access to proper washing water, facilities where they have to use the same washrooms and toilets. Some of these people, some of the women, may have been subject to rape and sexual assault. But nonetheless, Priti Patel is doing what Tories like to do, being brutal and violent, stripping them of their humanity, presenting them as a threat, as numbers, as nameless, as Winston here was stripped down, made to look filthy, inhuman, made to look like as though they had no importance, as though they didn't have any humanity. What I am saying to you here, and it is so obvious if you look at it, was said in this warning that George Orwell wrote in the book 1984. Those in power want power only. They want it for its own sake. They don't choose to govern, they choose to rule. To rule with a rod of iron. To rule inhumanly. To rule and carry out their policies of eugenic cleansing via pandemic. They rule. They're rulers. We're not governed citizens as we are meant to be legally. These people like Johnson, call us subjects, subject to his will, his rule, his desire. Subjects who can have benefits withdrawn at a moment's notice, who can be forced to use food banks, who can be forced into starvation. This is what Britain is all about. And when you voted Tory, you voted for that. When you voted Tory, you voted to have a reduction of workers' rights. And I'm going to leave it on that because the phone is going off again, but that was only a text. Think about it. Think what happened when you got Tory and got Brexit. It's going to get worse. You were mad voting Tory. They are little totalitarians, little fascists. You are being robbed. You're being robbed by people who just want power so that they can become richer and they can make all their cronies richer as well. Our civil liberties are being taken away. This is not a government. It is a dictatorship. Orwell's warning. Can no longer talk about or refer to or have that book in schools. That's dreadful. That's not what democracy is about. Bye.